Hi guys, it's Anais. Welcome to today's video. I'm gonna give you some tips on how to get good grades at university. I've done pretty well in high school and in my first year of uni. I'm doing pretty good right now as well. I think my tips could really help you if you really implement them. So yeah, keep on watching.
If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat.
So my first tip is to be organized. That seems pretty straightforward, but most of the time people don't really know how to stay organized. First thing I recommend is having a planner. So either a planner that you buy, or you can have a bullet journal like me. You can make it really simple, or you can make it as fancy as you want to. For example, this was last year. I was really into bullet journaling, so I tried really hard. I would make like weekly spreads, like put effort into them. I stopped using my bullet journal because it was starting to get a bit too much. I didn't have time to put effort into it, and I thought my bullet journal had to be really pretty. But turns out it doesn't, because it's yours. You can do whatever you want. Now all I do is like write the month on the blank page, and then I like make weekly spreads like this. Just have the day of the week and then the date. Separate them into different sections, one for each day of the week. The last one is just notes. It helps me a lot to stay organized and know what I need to do. So what I would do is at the end of the week, I would just plan out my whole week, write down all the events I have in that week. I'll try to break down all the work I have to do into different days, keeping in mind that I have classes. And yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I stay organized. It works pretty well for me. Also, what I do is I have calendars in my room where I write down all the assignments I have due. I just wrote down all the assignments that I have due in the next month or so, and then all the important events I have, so that I can see pretty clearly when I have to start on an assignment. Just have a calendar where you can write down all the stuff that's gonna happen in the next month. It'll help you a lot. And also in uni, you have some classes, but you also have to do a lot of studying by yourself. So what I recommend is setting out chunks of time per week or per day where you would just do work. On the weekends, I would usually get ready for the week and just like do my work for all my classes that week, get started on the assignments or finishing them. Plan your time well, and then you won't be stressed. My second tip is to start early on assignments or start early on studying for a test. That's really important because in uni, for a test, for example, you have so much that you have to learn, and it's not possible to learn everything in a few days right before the test. So what I did last year, I would start studying for a test 3 weeks before the test. Now I know that sounds like a lot, but it gives you enough time to read all the material, try to understand the topic, and just practice doing exercises, past papers, etc. It's better to start early and then don't know what to study more than to start late and not have enough time to study. For assignments, also start as soon as you get the question. So basically, as soon as they give you a question for an essay, start as soon as you can, because research takes a long time. The writing of the essay is not that bad, but the research is what takes forever, at least for me. When I know I'm gonna have an essay, as soon as they release the essay question, I look for the question. I already start thinking about how I'm gonna respond to that question, and then I try to start my research soon after, and then I do a little bit every week. That way I'm not stressed and I finish writing my essay a few days before it's due. I'm not stressing out about submitting it on time. Oh yeah, and also for exams, like, of course, start early. I know it's hard to get started, but you really got to do it. If you start early, you'll be able to procrastinate a little bit during exam season, which is always nice, because during exam season you don't want to be studying 24/7. My next step is to prepare for your classes. If there are any articles that you have to read them. It seems like it's common sense, but a lot of people don't read them, and then they show up at workshops and then they haven't read the readings. Usually before lecture there'll be like some required readings in the textbook. And last year I used to read the chapters in the textbook before the lecture, but I would not take notes while reading. I would just read it for the sake of reading it, and I think that was really stupid of me because I didn't retain any information. And then like towards the end I started taking notes while reading the chapters, and that helped a little bit. But depending on the subject you're doing, you don't really have to read the textbook. You can get fine by not reading the required textbook chapters. So for this year, I did not buy any textbook, and I am not reading any of the required chapters because the lecturer usually takes the most important points that are outlined in the textbook and then just puts them in the PowerPoint. So I think I'm wasting my time if I'm reading the textbook chapters just to have all the important points on the PowerPoint later. For me, what works is to not read the textbook and only read it if I don't understand a concept. If you want to read the textbook chapters before your class or after, at least take notes and don't just read it for the sake of reading it. You'll just be wasting your time because you'll probably forget everything you just read in like an hour. So yeah. Okay, my next tip is to go to class. It seems like common sense, but a lot of people don't go to class. It might help you understand the topic more, and then you'll have less studying to do later for exams or tests. So it's really for your benefit to go, and especially workshops, because the tutor will explain the topic more. If you have any questions, you can ask them. It can really help you understand something you didn't understand in the lecture or when you were studying it by yourself. Also, hearing about the material multiple times will make it easier for it to stick in your brain. Next tip is to study effectively and find what works best for you. Don't spend all your time just reading the textbook. It's a bit pointless. It's just like studying just for the sake of studying. You need to study effectively if you want to be able to retain the information and favor quality over quantity, because 20% of your efforts will always give 80% of the results. You want the 20 efforts that you put into studying to be effective so that you get good results. So ways of doing that is using flashcards for concepts or definitions, either physical flashcards, or I use Quizlet most of the time because you can test yourself with them and they have a bunch of different ways to learn, and I really like it. I even use Quizlet for like formulas that I need to learn for econ, for example. You can also use mind maps. I used that for my management class last year. I would write a topic on a piece of paper and then make a mind map with all the information I knew, and that's how I studied for my exam. It worked out pretty well for me. Also, you can use active recall. I watched this video on YouTube of this guy who is a doctor in Cambridge, and he's like super smart, and he made a video on active recall and like different ways of studying effectively. So I'll link it down below if you want to watch that. Another way of studying effectively is by doing exercises in the textbook or the workshop questions, or just finding some online. I think it's better if you practice more than you read. I would do all the workshop questions, I would do exercises in the textbook, and then I would go back and redo all the workshop questions. I would find other exercises online that had answers. The important part is to have the answers available so that you can know what you did wrong. If you can't find the answers online, maybe find a friend who's also doing the same subject and then try to do the exercise together to see if you get the same answer or not, and then if you don't, you can try to work out what the other did and compare. Next tip is to not procrastinate. I know it's hard to do, like I procrastinate sometimes, but I try not to. I try to do my work as soon as I can, and if I'm not feeling motivated, I use the Pomodoro technique, and I found this timer on Google. It's called Tomato Timer, and you can set a timer. I set it for 25 minutes, and then for 25 minutes I'll just focus and study, because I know that for the next 25 minutes all I have to do is do my work. And then I'll have a 5-minute break where I just go to the bathroom, drink water, walk around. I try not to go on my phone, because if I do, I know that I'm gonna stay on it longer than 5 minutes. And then the timer would go off, and then I'll study for 25 minutes more. I'll do that 4 times, and then after the 4 times, I'll set a 10-minute break. If I didn't finish my work, I'll start again. It's a good way of getting yourself motivated to do work, because you're just telling yourself, I only have to work for 25 minutes. 25 minutes is nothing. It's better to tell yourself that than being like, okay, I need to study for 2 hours with no breaks and just do it. Your brain is gonna be like, nah, that's too hard, man. But if it's 25 minutes, it's gonna be, oh, that's easy, I can do that. I also use meditation music. There are some pretty good videos that last like 2 hours or an hour. I find that like listening to that really helps me focus Sometimes I listen to that if I can't focus, or I listen to rain. I have an app on my phone, I think it's just called Rain. You can listen to the sound of rain or the ocean or a coffee shop. So yeah, I use it sometimes. Next tip is to use the internet. Google is your best friend. If you don't understand something, Google it, watch a YouTube video about it. I do that a lot. Also, doing research about a topic usually helps you retain the information better. Next tip is to ask for help when you need it. So if you don't understand something, don't be scared to ask your lecturer, your tutor, even your friends, or I asked my dad a lot of stuff about econ. My final and last tip is just to give yourself some breaks from time to time. Don't study 24/7 or every minute you're awake, because you're gonna burn out pretty quickly. Set some time for yourself, but also for hanging out with friends. Stay healthy, get enough sleep. Also, don't cram for an exam the day before. Get some sleep, because your brain needs sleep to be able to retain the information. There's some science behind it. Don't ask me what it is, because I would not be able to tell you, but I know that you need sleep to be able to function as a human being, and also for your brain to actually retain the information you're trying to learn. It's better to study as much as you can and then get some sleep before your exam than actually spend your whole night trying to cram everything and then be really tired the day of your exam and then forgetting everything because you're so sleep deprived that you can't stay awake. And then you're gonna do poorly on that exam. So yeah. Sometimes you just gotta face the fact that you won't know everything, and that's okay. And make sure to do things that you enjoy doing so that you're not going crazy. These are all my tips for this video. I hope they were helpful, and I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
If it's fine by you, I'll take the passenger seat. We can drive around to the sky and see me